Just before I start, I'm going to tell you a bit about myself because I feel that it's important that if I'm going to be talking about business and relationships, the person that stands in front of you actually has a bit of a basic understanding about business and relationships. I am a management consultant at KPMG. I work within the banking, risk and regulation industry. I'm a junior executive at KPMG. I have been for the past 6 years. Advising retail banks, investment banks, wealth management banks, asset management banks, any financial service institution, that's where you find me doing my work. Entrepreneurially, me and my fiance, we run a lifestyle platform called The Afolavis. My name is Ayo Afolabi, and her name will be Afolabi. So we run a platform called The Afolavis, which produces content around lifestyle, purpose, and of course, relationships. And we release content on our online blog, and we have other social media platforms as well. We consult and speak on relationships at seminars, conferences, at schools, at business organizations. I've discerned that there is a lot of discussion that's been going on about relationships over the last few weeks in the church, which is good. And I think that relationships is something that is underplayed. It's something that we don't discuss enough in the context of things like business, in the context of things like school, in the context of things like academic study. Relationships are key. They are central to everything that we do. There's one thing that I say to a lot of people anytime I'm talking about relationships, and I'm going to say it again. No man is an island.
That's right.
No man is an island.
That's right.
You cannot feed yourself as an infant. You cannot provide nursery for yourself. You cannot interview yourself for a job. You cannot negotiate a deal with yourself. You cannot marry yourself, parent yourself, educate yourself, school yourself. You can't even bury yourself when you die. Cannot even conceive yourself. Two people are needed for that too. Everything that defines your state of living at a certain point in time requires another person. Revelation 4:11 makes us understand that we were created for God's pleasure. The very purpose of our creation was that God was able to derive pleasure for us through our communion with Him, through our relationship with Him. Genesis 2:18, we know that God is a relational God because when He created man, He looked at man in Genesis 2:18 and He said, "It is not good that man should be alone." He just created man, and the first thing that He says is that it's not good that he should be alone. He's showing His dislike here for solitude. Genesis 3:9. The first question that God ever asks man in the Bible, the first time that God asks the question is, He asks man, "Where are you?" We know that when Adam and Eve ate the fruit from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, God comes down. Adam and Eve had hidden themselves. God usually comes down to fellowship with man in the evenings, in the cool of the day. And the first thing He asks when we can't see Him is, "Where you at? Where are you?" Our God is a relational God. He's a relational God. Now, if our God is a relational God, and Genesis 1:26 makes us to understand that we were made in His image, it so transpires that we are also relational people. Now, I'm going to contextualize relationship in the realm of business. It's very important to understand that in order for a business to succeed, and I say business, but it might not be a business that you're working on. It might be your career. It might be an initiative that you do. We use the word business here, but for whatever stage that you're at, I don't know whether you've started a business or not. I don't know whether it is that you have a blog. I don't know whether it is that you have an online platform. Whatever it is that you're doing, I don't know what it is that you're doing. If I use the word business, replace the word business if it's not specifically business, whatever it is that you do. Relationship is the underpinning of any business activity that it is that you're going to do. Now, I'm going to give a basic definition of business. Business is where you have an entity, so it could be an organization or a person who operate within a marketplace where goods and services are exchanged for one another or money. Now, you might remember that at the start I spoke about how no man is an island. And this is important because if business is about entities trading and exchanging goods and services, it means that you cannot trade a good or a service with yourself if you want your business or you want your platform to actually be viable. If I come up with a new product that I want to sell and I have no relationship with nobody, how can I sell that product? How can I sell that product? There must be someone that I sell that product to. Now, what that means is that the success of your business, the success of your platform, the success of whatever it is that you're doing is dependent on your ability to relate to people anywhere you meet them, anywhere you see them. Essentially what I'm saying is that if you cultivate more relationships, then you can sell more of your goods, sell more of your services. And I'm going to give some examples. Apple's success has come from the fact that it's very popular. I'm going to do kind of a headquarter. How many people here have Apple phones? Whoa, this must probably be the first place where literally less than half the room has an Apple phone. Apple phones?
Yep.
Literally, just like a third of the room. Are we all team Samsung in this room?
Their pastor is Samsung, so they
so because the pastor is Samsung, everyone else is Samsung. Alright, cool. Don't worry. I think this room is an island amongst the sea of iPhone users in general. But the reality is that Apple is one of the largest companies in the world, and its popularity and the size of its customer base means that actually it is one of the most cash-rich companies in the world. It has, I think, about $1 trillion just sat in the bank. Its success is its popularity because of its relationship with its customers. If you take Tesco's, for example, Tesco's, did you know that 1 in every 8 pence, 1p in every 8p in the United Kingdom is spent at Tesco's? 1 in every 8p is spent at Tesco's. And it's not a surprise given that Tesco's is the largest supermarket chain in the United Kingdom. I believe it has about 40% of the market share of supermarket chains in the United Kingdom. What does that tell me? That tells me that Tesco's has managed to build a relationship with more customers than any other supermarket chain, with more customers than Sainsbury's, Asda, Morrison's, what are the other ones? Aldi, all of them. All of the Waitrose, all of them. All of them. Let's take it to social media, Facebook. Facebook is the 7th largest company in the world. It's only been going for 15 years now. But Facebook, 1/4 of the world's population, so 1.8 or 1.9 billion people use Facebook. 1.8 billion people in the world use Facebook. And so what does that tell me? It tells me that this company has managed to grow in the space of 14 years to one of the top 10 biggest companies in the world because of its ability to create relationships with 1.8 billion people who use Facebook daily. The magnitude of your relationships in a business context will determine the magnitude of your business. It doesn't matter what it is that you are doing. if you are creating relationships and the relationships that you create expand and mushroom and grow into me relating to thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people, billions of people in Facebook's case, it means that I'm cultivating relationships that is going to cause the growth of my company or my business or my platform or whatever it is that I'm doing is going to cultivate that growth. Now, it doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're doing graphics design, for the adults out there, if you have a catering business, if you have a mechanics business, if you have a blog, if you have a charity or an initiative that you're running, it is the relationships that you build in the growth of that will correlate. And so the question then is, how do you cultivate successful relationships that will build successful businesses? That's the question. Now, as a business owner, there are two things that you need to cultivate. You need to cultivate your colleagues and your employees or your clients. And I've given examples of companies, Tesco's, Facebook, all of these companies, they have thousands of employees working for them. But there are 7 principles that I want us to understand when we're talking about relationships, when we're talking about business, that are going to be very critical to whatever business, whatever it is that you're going to do going forward. The first thing that you need to understand, number 1, is that you must make relationships central to your core mandate. Yeah. You must make relationships absolutely central to whatever it is that you want to achieve. One thing that I've learned over the years professionally and even in business is that people make emphasis and people concentrate on how much money am I going to make. On loss, on revenue, on profits. That's what people are focused on. And actually, people do not realize that the driving force behind those things is not the sales that you make, but it's the people that you meet. You see, it's quite easy for you as a blogger to write a piece that one person will like. It's quite easy for you to, as a mechanic, engage somebody in service and they fix their car and they're on their way. It's quite easy for you as, I don't know, an aspiring musician to go and play a gig somewhere and for everyone to enjoy the gig and you just go on your way having collected your check. It's quite easy. But what will separate you from the others in terms of the success is you've been able to forge a relationship with the people that your business or your enterprise comes across. A perfect example of this is Jesus himself. If you read Mark 1:18, Jesus says to the disciple, one of the disciples when he was on board, and he says to him, "Come with me, and I will make you fishers of men." Come with me, and I will make you fishers of men. Now, it's interesting that the first thing that Jesus said to these guys wasn't that, "Oh, come with me and I'll make you Christians," or "Come with me and I'll make you children of God." He says to me, "Come with me." He says to them, rather, "Come with me, and I will make you relational people." Because in order to fish men, in order to be able to draw men in, you have to be able to relate to them. Jesus realized that the idea of presenting the kingdom to people who have never seen the kingdom before needed you to forge relationships with them. You see, one of the things that we don't realize about Jesus is that Jesus was actually a businessman.
That's right.
Jesus was a businessman. He was able to relate a product in a way that was relatable to people, for people to want to engage with that product. Jesus knew, and I'm giving an example here for those that want to take the seed behind this example. Jesus knew that as a man that was born in Israel during agricultural times, if I want to sell the product which is the kingdom of God, how am I going to sell that? Oh, I know what I'll do. I'm going to relate the kingdom in a series of parables. And how are most of these parables going to be related? They're going to be related in a way that the people of Israel at that time can understand. Now, there's something that you need to understand about Israel 2,000 years ago. Israel 2,000 years ago was a nation of farmers. It was a nation of people who did agricultural things. So when you hear of the parable of the good sower, who do you think Jesus is trying to relate to? When you hear the parable of the lost sheep, who do you think Jesus is trying to relate to? When you hear the parable of the wheat and the tares, who do you think Jesus is trying to relate to? Jesus knew that I had to speak their language in order for me to be able to relate to them. Many people are trying to sell a product to people and do not know how to relate to the people they're trying to sell the product to. Many people, they have a target market, but they do not know how to relate to that target market. Number 2, every relationship is significant. There are so many instances where I see people who are in business or people who are working on a project who ignore people because they don't think that those people are important. And yet, actually, those people are the ones who are the secret to their prosperity. I said at the start that man is not an island, and that all relationships are important. There is a good example of Joseph in Genesis chapter 40, verse 5, where he was put in charge of prisoners, and he notices that 2 prisoners in particular aren't very happy. And he asks them what's wrong. Now, for me, if I'm in prison and I look at somebody and they look upset, I'm just going to think, well, they're in prison, of course they're upset. But Joseph was able to see that actually something's wrong and not dismiss it out of hand and actually realize that something is wrong with this person. I need to find out what's wrong.
That's right.
For many of us, our business is in social activity, social care. And we think, well, these people aren't necessarily that important because they don't have that many numbers or they don't have that much money. Or some of us think, oh, well, I'm looking to do this, but yeah, I've been put in contact with this person, but oh, he doesn't seem like he has that much following, so I'm going to ignore him. Did you realize that the prisoners that Joseph went to go inquire after, one of them happened to be the butler to Pharaoh? And when Joseph helped that butler interpret his dream, when the butler ended up in front of Pharaoh again, and Pharaoh needed someone to interpret his dream, the butler remembered that there was somebody in the prison who remembered me and said, I know a man who can interpret your dream, Pharaoh. You see, when you serve those around you, even when you think, oh, I'm serving this person, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, it's not really important. I'm turning up to all the meetings in church and it's not really important, but I'm doing it. Your consistency in the little things is what will bring about the reward in the big things. Hebrews 13:2, I believe, says that you shouldn't forget to show hospitality to strangers. For in doing good to strangers, some people have shown hospitality to angels without knowing it. You see, that insignificant relationship that you foster, that you grow, is a relationship that potentially can be an angel relationship that will bring about your destiny. And it's my prayer that as you take care of all relationships that are around you, not just, oh, because it's pastor, I'm going to do it. But yet, if it's a little child, you just forget it. Not just because, oh, Pastor Sam is saying I should do this, and then the spouse is asking you to do more. Every relationship is important. Every relationship is important. In business, every relationship is important. I once was doing an interview with Mark McIver. He runs an organization called Slider. He runs a barbershop called Slider Cuts. And he said something when I was interviewing. He said that I treat every customer as the most important customer in my life when I'm doing them a service. I want to do good service for all my customers. And he's a social media barber, so he would literally put all his clients' cuts on social media. Little did he know that for a good 6 months as he was doing his business, Anthony Joshua was in the background watching him, showing all his clients care. Anthony Joshua then drops a message in Instagram messages and says, I really like what you're doing, I'm going to come to your shop and get my hair cut. Ever since that point, he has been Anthony Joshua's barber. And it came from him just being a good barber to everybody, and Anthony Joshua being able to see from a distance that he was being a good barber to everybody. If you don't believe me, you can check out Slider Cuts. He's Anthony Joshua's official barber. In business, you cannot ignore people that are not seen to be important, because everyone is important. Number 3, identifying the right vision enablers. You see, Jesus, again, I said he was the original G businessman, Jesus was. And he identified the transferable skills of fishermen and actually turned them into fishers of men. I often wonder reading this, that why isn't it that Jesus went for soldiers and for really intelligent people like, I don't know, bankers and lawyers? Why did he go for fishermen? And then I realized in the story of Matthew 19 from verse 16 why he didn't. Where he encounters the rich man and the rich man asks him, what shall I do to interpret God's kingdom? Or to inherit God's kingdom, rather. And Jesus says to him, you know, you follow the commandments. And the rich man said, yes, I have. I do this, I do that, I do this. And then Jesus says to him, sell all your belongings and follow me. And the rich man couldn't hack it. He couldn't hack it. And you realize that if Jesus had relied on people like that to perform his business would have flopped.
He failed.
If he relied on those rich men as opposed to those fishermen to do his business would have flopped. And you see, the problem is that many of us will rely on the people who think, oh yeah, this person's got loads of followers, they're going to help me do this. Oh yeah, this person's really talented and really connected, they're going to help me do this. And yet when you meet those people and you try and link up with those people, they're just stopping you. Whereas God has already said, this person, I want you to work with this person. You're thinking, well, this person is not particularly fashionable. This person doesn't really have it together. And God is saying, but that's who I want you to work with. That's who's going to enable your destiny. That's the person that's going to be diligent. That's the person that's going to be faithful. That's the person that's going to really help your business. The rich man could not follow Jesus in the same way that the fisherman could. And that's important. It means that when you look around and you look around for people who are going to help you in your business, who are going to help you, mothers with your catering business or fathers with your catering business, it's not necessarily the person that's the most qualified, that's the person you necessarily should go to. It might be that the person with too much brain is the person that will be fighting you, saying, no, you should do it this way. Then actually what we need is someone who's just going to serve you. Someone who's just going to help you. Number 4. Actually, I have a prayer for point 3. My prayer is that many of you have been approached by people who were there to serve you, but you have rejected them out of hand. My prayer is that God will give you the discernment to relocate those people. Because these are your destiny enablers. Number 4, identifying the relationships that you need to cultivate. There are some relationships that you need to cultivate. There's some relationships out there with some people that you haven't met, or some people that you might have met, that you need to cultivate. Someone who's messaged you on LinkedIn and said, I saw your profile, I like what you're doing, let's connect. And that message is still lying dormant in your inbox and you haven't opened it. It's unread. reality is that you are the average of the 5 people who you spend the most time with. That's really important, so remember that. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So do an audit of your life right now. Think about the people that you discuss your ideas with. Think about the people who you bounce ideas off. That's who you're an average of. And it works both ways. If you read the story of Ammon and Jonadab in 2 Samuel 13, I think it is, Ammon was a prince, and for some reason he had what I call a wasteland friend. He had a friend who somehow managed to persuade him that it would be a good idea to rape his half-sister. He had a friend that gave him bad advice. And he followed that bad advice, and he paid for that bad advice with his life. There are some people and some relationships that just aren't worth the paper that they're written on. But there's some relationships that if you cultivate them, they're the difference between you being a nearly or actually being what you're supposed to be. David and Jonathan, 1 Samuel 18. Incidentally, David was Ammon's father. So it's funny to see that actually David was able to cultivate relationships with the right people, whereas Ammon, I don't know what he was doing, and he learned from his father, he was cultivating his relationships with some dead people. We see that in 1 Samuel 18 that David and Saul become very close. Read from verse 1 to 5. You see that they become very close, and that Jonathan and David became soul-bound. And that Jonathan made a covenant with David, and that Jonathan stripped his robe of himself and gave it to David. They became close. David and Jonathan cultivated their relationship. And in cultivating their relationship, David became an army commander in the Israelite army, which gave him the platform to do his exploits. You see, the relationships that you cultivate with the right people will give you the platforms that you need to do what it is that you want to do from a business perspective. See, David was a shepherd boy who from nowhere was coming into the kingdom and cultivated a relationship with a prince, and pretty much became a prince because he cultivated a relationship with a prince. And so my question to you is this: which princes are you partnering with? What friendship groups are you keeping? I recently attended the 30th birthday of one of my close friends from university, and this gentleman is a highly accomplished gentleman. He recently developed a tool that he sold to Google, and basically it made him a lot of money. And now, as I was celebrating him and looking back at his life, we met when we were 18, and his Bentley was being rolled into the compound for his 30th birthday, and I was thinking to myself, this is my benchmark here. I realized that the reason why I could see him as my benchmark is because I reside within his friendship circle. So for me, that's what my minimum is. For me, that's the minimum that I'm aiming for. If you look around you and you see mediocrity, what are you aiming for? If you look around you and there is nothing to aspire to, what are you waiting for? Number 5, identifying suitable mentors. And this one is critical. Identifying suitable mentors. If you need to cultivate relationships that are lateral relationships, there are some vertical relationships as well when you are building businesses, when you are building platforms that you need to nurture as well. Ruth met her Boaz through Naomi. Elijah met his double portion through Elijah. And you see, when we're talking about cultivating relationships with mentors, it's not just a simple case of, oh, I like this person, I like what they're doing. That Joe is my mentor. Yes, I see him. When he preaches, it's so good, it's so powerful, so deep, and yeah. And then you're just like, yeah, just watching it, just like nodding and being like, this is amazing. That is not cultivating a relationship with mentorship. You see, when Naomi's husband and her sons died, and she said to Ruth, go back to your homeland. What did Ruth say? No, I want to stay with you. You see, in my experience, when I found somebody and I've identified a mentor, usually those mentors will do the most to push you away from the outset because 1, they are busy, 2, their time is limited, and 3, in many cases, they're trying to test you to see whether actually you are serious about their mentorship. And so when Elijah said, I want a double portion of what you've got, Elijah said to him, that's a really difficult thing. You go read the story, because of time, if you go read the story in 2 Kings 2, you see that Elijah said to him, that's going to be really hard, that's going to be really hard. And actually when I read that, I realized that, why is Elijah saying it's going to be really hard? He has no business saying it's going to be really hard. It's God that's going to give the portion, right? But what you realize is that actually what Elijah is deliberately doing is deliberately saying, you want it? Come and get it. You want it? Come and get it. And you see, so if you want a mentorship relationship with somebody who you know is going to take you somewhere, you need to be dogged. You need to be determined for that relationship. If you read the story, as a result of that mentorship between Ruth and Naomi, if you read the story of Ruth chapter 3 from verse 1 to 4, you see that when Naomi was instructing Ruth on how to present herself for Boaz, wear this dress, put on this perfume, touch yourself up this way. It brought to mind some of the conversations I've had with my mentors where they've said, do not engage in that deal. Hand in your CV to this place. Connect with that person. Do this, do that. And I said, yes. They said, I have a contact in that area. Go and see them. Say that. They will say this. Once they say this, you say that. If they say anything else, come back to me and I'll go and talk to them. You need those specific instructions from your mentors. You need those specific insights from your mentors that you can't see. Every single person that you know who's somewhere now had a mentor. Every single person. We all look at Daddy Gio and say, yes, he's such a man of God. He had a mentor. He had a mentor. Bill Gates had a mentor. Everybody had a mentor. Mark Zuckerberg has a mentor. Warren Buffett had a mentor. Everyone has a mentor. You want to take it to sports? Sports, all the sportsmen that you love and you see, they have mentors. Number 6. Managing challenging interactions, managing challenging relationships. See, the reality is that I've talked about, cultivating and, building relationships. There are some relationships that will be difficult. Full stop. There are some relationships that as you are trying to build your business, as you are trying to build your platform, they will be difficult relationships. When Nehemiah was trying to build the wall, there were these 2 chaps called Sanballat and Tobiah who for some reason just wanted to make life difficult for Nehemiah. Just for no reason. On at least 6 occasions in Nehemiah, and I'll give you the scriptures because of time, Nehemiah 2:19, Nehemiah chapter 4 verse 1, Nehemiah chapter 4 verse 7, and Nehemiah chapter 6 verse 3, and then again in 6 verse 4. At least half a dozen occasions where Sanballat and Tobiah and they heard that Nehemiah was rebuilding the wall and they were furious. They heard that Nehemiah was building the wall and they were furious. They heard that Shalom was releasing an album and they were just furious. I don't know why. They were just hating. I don't know. They heard that Pastor Sam was writing another book and for some reason they just couldn't hack it. They were furious. There is always going to be somebody who is going to be an enemy of progress.
That's right.
As we say. Reality is that you have to negotiate your way past those negative people. Will Smith said something, and I think it's actually very, very poignant. He said that throughout life, people will make you mad, disrespect you, treat you bad. Let God deal with the things they do, because hate in your heart will consume you too. I like that. Because the reality is that ultimately, the only thing that can happen when you become distracted by these is that you become distracted to destruction. When Nehemiah was receiving letters from Sanballat and Tobiah saying, oh, we want to see you, we don't like what you're doing. Had Nehemiah responded to any of those letters by going to see them, they would have killed him.
That's right.
They would have killed him. And sometimes we don't realize that when we're being distracted by people in our pursuit of our goals and our pursuit of what it is that we're doing, it's a distraction that will ultimately be fatal to the businesses that we're trying to build, to the platforms that we're trying to build. But conversely, there are some challenging relationships that we go through that are just parts of you being built up, or a part of you building those people up around you. And a perfect example of this is Moses and the Israelites. Moses, I feel for the guy because he had to deal with probably some of the most stubborn bunch of people ever. But he had a mandate from God. God's mandate to him was, you're to lead these people to the promised land. Which means that you find that over the times that even when God got fed up with the Israelites, Moses was the person that would stand in the gap. Exodus 32, good example. Moses would stand in the gap and say, God, no, just leave these people, it's cool. There's sometimes that you yourself will have to stand in the gap and manage relationships because you know where God is taking that thing to. But, and there is a but, number 7, there is a time when you need to identify when certain relationships need to end. Some relationships cannot be managed. Some relationships are not challenges. Some relationships you need to walk away from. When the time came for Judas to betray Jesus, Jesus himself knew that the time for this relationship to end has come, and basically pushed the relationship to one side. Abraham and Lot. When Abraham was told to get thee out of Haran and go to a place where God would tell him more, it's funny that the scripture actually calls the Bible says that Abraham took Lot with him because Lot was his nephew. Now, by the time you get to a few chapters down the line, you see that Abraham's people and Lot's people are starting to fight. And Abraham comes to the realization that, hey, hold on, this isn't working. I need to end the relationship. We need to separate. Your people need to go dwell in Sodom. My people need to dwell here. There are some relationships that need to end. There are some relationships that are taking you nowhere. And the sooner that you realize this, the better. In reality, it should not have taken Abraham's people and Lot's people to fight for Abraham to realize that they shouldn't be together. Because God had told Abraham in Genesis 12, a few chapters back, that he should leave and not take anyone with him. Many of us are still carrying the baggage that we're supposed to have left behind years back and trying to carry God's destiny over our lives at the same time. We want to start a new business venture, we want to write a new book, but yet we're carrying things and we're carrying relationships that we're just not supposed to be carrying. It's my prayer that whatever it is, or whoever it is, that you are still engaging with, who God has already closed that door, that God will open your eyes to close that door for yourself. In Jesus' name. Now, very quickly in conclusion, tying this all together, what should relationships in a business setting, in a business context, look like from a Christian perspective? Luke 10:27 says that we should love God with all our hearts, with all our souls, with all our strength, with all our mind, and love our neighbors as we love ourselves. The ultimate business relationship is one which factors in the most important relationship, which is the relationship that you have with God. For any relationship that you want to nurture in business, or even if you take business out of the equation, you want to nurture full stop, you need God to help you nurture that relationship. You see, your relationship with God can help you navigate all the relational aspects that we've discussed. It is not easy to manage relationships. It is not easy to identify the right person to partner with. It is not easy to let go of some relationships. But if your relationship with God supersedes all of that, then He will give you discernment to navigate those relationships. Isaiah 30:21 in close it says that whether you turn to the right or to the left, your ears will hear a voice behind you saying, "This is the way, walk in it." You will hear a voice if that voice is speaking to you. If that relationship that you have with Him is the correct relationship, telling you, avoid that person, partner with that person, turn away from that person, cultivate that mental relationship with this person, walk in that way. Whether you turn to the right or to the left, your ears will hear a voice behind you saying, "This is the way, walk in it." Let's bow our heads. I want you to talk to God. This is your key relationship that you need to cultivate now, the relationship with your Father in heaven. The Bible says that He giveth knowledge to create wealth. Because we do not have the requisite relationship that we need to have with God, so we need to recommit that relationship into His hands. And ask that He will refresh that relationship. And He will renew the lines of communication in that relationship. Thank you, Father. For in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. And so, Father, we thank you. Lord, I speak into the lives of everybody who will sound my voice. And I decree and declare that we will forge relationships that will spur us onto our destinies, our God-given destinies, in the mighty name of Jesus.